Welcome, everyone. This is BetskaK-Burr, Betska the Guru Coach, with my fabulous, talented co-host, Vashisht from Delhi, India. Of course, I'm from Canada, and here our podcast is named Mindful Leadership Beyond Borders. Our guest is going to open your eyes. I just know it. So let me introduce him first for you. His name is Nick Breeze. He's a climate journalist and author known for his work interviewing scientists and covering numerous United Nations climate change conferences. You all know them as COPs, C-O-P-S. He authored the book COPOUT. How brilliant is that title? Oh, I just love it. Which critiques government actions on climate issues. Breeze's work emphasizes the disconnect between political promises and actual climate action. To me, that is our biggest problem, right? We've got all the data, but governments are just not taking action, nor are humans, the average parent, in the household, or teens, So he in his book, he highlights the voices of scientists and activists. He also co-hosts a podcast called Climate Gen, where he discusses climate challenges and solutions. His commitment to environmental journalism aims to inform and inspire action towards a sustainable future. Well, Nick, we need more people like you. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we want to talk about a lot of things. I've got so many questions. We're probably going to record in 3 10-minute parts. So let's see how we do. And I really want to talk about COPOUT and all the extreme weather events that are happening and so on. But you know what? What's on everyone's top of mind right now are these California fires. So let's just, chat about them for a little bit. I was shocked to hear that California, since last July, has only had 5 millimeters of rain. And I'm just curious about, Raj and I have watched this devastation. One of my coaching clients from LA, we were working this week, and she was saying that I think it is in the Palisades, where they have beautiful boardwalks and cafes right on the water and different trails leading off. And she said, it's all gone.
Yeah.
It's all gone. I mean, this was a wake-up call, not just for California, not just for the U.S., not just for North America, but for the whole world. It had, the universe, God, whomever you want to refer to, said enough's enough.
Well, I think we have really moved into an era of consequences. I mean, when we started talking about this, people started talking about it in the 70s and 80s, and probably before then. But in the last 15 years, let's say, it was always something we were always saying that's coming down the track towards us, and people in the global south were already experiencing a lot of impacts already. But us in the global north, we kind of were able to distance ourselves a little bit from it, and we've been slow to change because it hasn't really been something that's tangible to us. And I think what we see in California, and we've seen it in Valencia in Spain, we saw it. We're starting to see this increased frequency of really dangerous life, property, everything destruction events. And this is what we've been warned of. We've crossed the 1.5 for this 2024 hottest year on record, crossed 1.5. And we get a glimpse of how horrific it can really be. And I think that now more than ever, and despite all the crazy politics, more than ever, we have to understand that all of us are threatened. I mean, who would ever think you would see the Hollywood sign on fire in real? It's not a movie, it's real. People's lives destroyed, people without insurance destroyed. And now they're uninsurable unless you're so wealthy. I mean, it's kind of, it's like a paradox, really.
Mm. So that leads me to the question, unless we fix this, what is going to happen to planet Earth? What's going to happen to the humans? What's going to happen to the animals, like our animal friends? Like 1.5 degrees C just last week. I mean, it just kind of shook me. And I just thought, wow, what's going to happen, Nick, if we don't do something now? Or is it too late?
Well, I would shy away from saying it's too late, but I think we must accept that we're going to have a hell of a lot of impacts now that we're going to have to contend with. And one thing for many of us, we're simply not ready. Fire, whether it's floods, whether it's the combination of these events, and it's also the aftermath. And one thing you mentioned it in an email prior to this, you were asking about all these chemicals that are coming out. And sure enough, we're starting to realize that it's not just the event itself, it's how do you rebuild afterwards? And at what point can you not rebuild afterwards? And the insurance industry retreating is a very good signal of how serious this is because it means that they don't value your property. They don't value everything you own because they see it's too risky that it's going to be taken away and that, they will have to address that balance. So, when it comes to wildlife, we're seeing this increased fires all around the world now and floods. It's the same thing. And the oceans are sort of part of this as well. And it's really disturbing when you start looking at the numbers of the die-off of creatures. And I think, in a way, it turns. I think as more people have personal encounters or know people who, we all have friends and family who are all around the world these days, and we encounter it through different levels. And I think we start to see our own vulnerability in terms of the whole Earth ecosystem, in terms of the biosphere. And I think we start to care more about nature because we start to see our place within it more. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing, I hope this isn't too much of a sort of wishful thinking on my side, but I really think there's a place now where fishermen become part marine biologists because, there's less fish for them to pull out, but they do have an interest and they do have a great deal of multi-generational knowledge in a lot of cases
Mm.
where they can help be part of the solution as well. And I think this sort of collective discussion is like what you guys are doing with your podcast, is opening up discussion, creating connections. I think this is part of our route to the future, is how we share our stories, how we build sort of connections through sharing knowledge, through discussions, through acknowledging our fears, acknowledging that we have to do something. Um, the science, of course, is really important, but it's how it connects to each of us as well that helps us sort of pave a way and care more for nature as well as our friends, family, and all the rest of it, society.
So, Nick, you're being delightfully positive.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the times I wake up in the morning, I don't feel delightfully positive, but we have to, I mean, we have to keep pushing to turn the corner. I don't believe that we're in a sort of extinction event yet. I think that there's a lot we can do, and things are moving on in the real sort of economies around the world. We have a rhetoric that people are going to drill, and they're going to keep going with all the fossil fuels, which of course cause all the problems and are actually now pushing us past the threshold of viability. So all of the things we see in terms of these feedbacks, like fires and so on, are getting much, much worse. And every time they get much, much worse, nature is struggling to bounce back in the time frame that's meaningful to us.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of, we have to be realistic, but we have to really think our way forward and stay strong and
Yeah.
also understand that this is a bit of a fight against a system that is programmed to run in one way, which is not good for us at the moment.
No, that's right. Let's just touch a little bit before we take a pause here. on that discussion we were having on email, and that is that those California fires are producing a dioxin cloud that will contaminate the national food supply chain. And these are cancer-causing dioxin chemicals that are actually used. Well, the houses, all the buildings that are burning are causing the dioxin chemicals to be released. And these poor California people, my client this week was coughing, and she's quite a ways from the fires, but we're basically ingesting, pro-cancer chemicals. And then I started to worry, Nick, because I'm in Canada. I'm on Vancouver Island, just not too far from Dr. Carter. And we get our food from California a lot. So I'm thinking, so my husband immediately went online to check where are the fires and where are the farms that we buy our lettuce from, for example. And so it's like we can't escape.
Yeah, it starts to make the world look much, much smaller when it's like this. And I think, I mean, this is obviously, and I've read quite a bit on this. And when we did an event at COP20, I think it was COP26 in Glasgow, and one of the ladies on the panel was the special advisor to President Obama for climate change and pandemic planning, and she was actually referenced California before, and it was almost a mirror because after the fires you get the floods because the ground is bare and it's hard and so on. But it's this thing of the chemicals leaching into all kinds of so many different scenarios, and I think that highlights the complexity of all of this. It's not just the fires, it's not just the pollution of the fires, it's all of the stuff we have in our homes and in our lives, in our cars, all these embedded chemicals that get released. These are all things we have to think of when we build back, is that how do we prevent, and how do we become resilient to this? We know now that this is going to happen. What's the plan? The actual health impacts are not terribly clear. I mean, I know that the coughing has been seen to last for beyond 12 months in people, but there are other impacts on health and things like that which are not quite known yet.
Yeah,
But
like
it's
the
pretty
liver. I
bad.
mean, the liver would be greatly impacted. We've had an Ayurvedic doctor on our podcast many times discussing the various diseases, and actually, I'd love to pick his brain on these California fires and what they are doing to the various organs in our body, including our brains. Well, Nick, we're going to take a short pause. We'll be right back, folks.